This is my 1988 Porsche 944. It's finished in Zermatt silver metallic paint with a black interior, and it's been extensively restored and maintained over the past 6 years, during which time nearly every wearable component has been replaced. I've used this car as a bit of a test subject along the way, reviewing both the Lindsay Racing and Storch MAF sensors, a short shifter kit, and a manual steering conversion. I've also used it to test out a variety of aftermarket part options to see what works and what doesn't, one of those being some URO Parts. URO Parts is a brand of aftermarket replacement parts offering low-cost components for European vehicles like BMW, Mercedes, and Porsche, and if you check out any enthusiast forums, they often have mixed reviews. For example, I currently have a URO oil pressure sending unit installed on this car, and it works fine. The reading's been accurate and doesn't leak or anything. In the cargo area, I have a URO hat seal in place that's also worked well with good fitment. On the other hand, I had a terrible time with a URO sunroof seal, where it was so thick that the roof panel wouldn't even close. And I'm now looking at a critical failure of a URO water pump on the car, so let's take a look. This video is sponsored by CarPokes, the friendly Porsche enthusiast forum. Whether you're looking for technical advice, classifieds, or custom tools for your Porsche, CarPokes has it all. Check it out today and register for free. About 8 months ago, I started to notice a brief high-pitched whining sound coming from the engine at cold start. It would generally last only a few seconds, but has since gotten worse, to the point where it intermittently whines at idle most of the time. I decided to probe around with a stethoscope to identify the root cause, and the whining sound was most amplified when touching the water pump housing, so it's time to dig in a little further. As you can see, the water pump sits here at the front of the engine, and it is behind these belt covers, the balance shaft belt and the timing belt. So we'll need to start stripping away some of these components, including the cooling fan assembly, distributor cap, and we'll start with the air filter housing, a couple bolts in back, 3 nuts up front, and a couple ring clamps, an electrical connector, and this assembly can be pulled away from the engine. Next, we'll remove the cooling fan assembly by removing the 3 screws along the top, 3 along the bottom, 2 electrical connectors, and cut any zip ties that are in place, and then the fans will drop right out the bottom. While we're down here, we'll go ahead and remove the accessory belt for the alternator and AC compressor. There are bolts at the front and rear of the compressor, a couple connections here for the adjustment arm. Loosen these jam nuts and the arm can be turned to release the belt. Back up top, we can remove the distributor cap by removing the spark plug leads and then releasing the 2 spring-loaded hooks, one up top and one below, by pressing in with a flathead screwdriver and turning about 90 degrees clockwise, and the cap will come right off. We just about have access to the timing and balance shaft belts now. Just got to remove this breather hose, and there are a number of bolts that go around the perimeter of the front belt cover. Get those off, bolt for the ignition rotor, and then 3 for the cam gear cover, and then everything will be exposed. Now we can get a better look at the cam gear cover and the timing belt covers that were removed, as well as the timing belt system here. So what I'd like to do is rotate this water pump pulley by hand and determine if it's difficult to turn, if it makes any strange noises. But first we'll have to remove the balance shaft belt and the camshaft timing belt to do that. So we're going to set the engine to top dead center by rotating the crankshaft here using a ratchet, and we'll use the alignment marks at the top of the clutch housing. There's an OT mark and a scribe line that aligns with a tab on the clutch housing. And then we'll make sure that our camshaft timing marks here are in alignment, as well as the balance shaft timing marks. And then we can remove the starter, install a flywheel lock, and begin to remove the timing and balance shaft belts. I've got the engine set to top dead center now, and you can see the alignment marks are set on the flywheel, and the camshaft timing marks are in alignment, along with the upper balance shaft alignment marks and the lower balance shaft alignment marks. I've also got the battery disconnected, so we can proceed to remove the starter from the bottom of the clutch housing. This is an aftermarket starter by IMI Performance. It's a high torque starter, but it removes the same way. And there's a couple bolts passing through the mounting plate, one on each side, so we'll get those removed. And then we can install the flywheel lock, which has some teeth that fit into the teeth on the starter ring gear to lock it in place. Get that bolted down, and we'll proceed to remove the balance shaft belt. To remove the balance shaft belt, we're going to need to loosen both the tensioner roller and the idler roller using a thin spanner wrench applied to the eccentric fitting. And with both of the lock nuts loosened, we can release tension on the belt and remove the belt from the pulleys. With the balance shaft belt removed, we can begin to remove the camshaft timing belt. We'll start by removing this idler roller from the top of the system. This later car features a spring tensioner that will need to be compressed using a pin wrench after the two locking fasteners are loosened. With the tension released, we can lock those back down and then remove the tensioner by removing the three mounting nuts. We'll also go ahead and remove this water pump guide plate, and then the timing belt can be removed from the engine. With the timing belt removed, we can finally take a closer look at this water pump here, so let's check out the pulley. And yeah, that's not good. So this should essentially be quiet as it's being turned back and forth, and we've definitely got some squeaks going on. Outside here we have this pulley. It's connected to a shaft, and it passes through a bearing and connects to an impeller on the other side. And what's likely happened is the internal seal for that bearing has failed, and some coolant and water has gotten in there and caused some corrosion and decay, and the bearing is starting to give way. So this would probably get worse over time. It definitely sounds really annoying as it sits today. And there's even a little bit of lateral movement when I try to shift the shaft side to side. It's nothing huge, but I can feel it shifting a little bit. By comparison, this is a Lasso brand water pump made in Germany, and I've had success with these in the past. The Lasso pumps generally cost about $200 more than the URO pumps, but community feedback suggests they have fewer bearing issues. There's a forum post here on Car Pokes where one owner described a similar whining noise on his 944 that also turned out to be a URO water pump failure. And in this post, a few people commented on the higher quality of the Lasso pumps in their experience, with another user discovering some metal shavings in the pump housing from a casting issue, so maybe something to look out for prior to installation there. But anyway, if you're a Porsche owner looking for some friendly, helpful advice or just to connect with other people in the community, I found a lot of value on the Car Pokes website. Taking a closer look at this Lasso pump, as you can see when the pulley is turned, it's completely silent, nice and smooth, no resistance, which is what we'd expect to see on a new water pump. And when we check for lateral play in the shaft, it's completely locked in and solid, which is great to see. A little bit of insight here, this URO pump was installed in July of 2019, so it only lasted about 6 years before showing signs of bearing failure, during which time the car was only driven 5,887 miles. So needless to say, not a good sign, but I did want to give it a shot and test it out. I know some owners had reported having success with it, while others were apprehensive to try it. It does have an attractive price point against the competition, I'll give it that, but in this case, the quality just wasn't there, and I'd like my water pump to last more than 6,000 miles. So the Lasso pump is what will be going on the car next. To remove the water pump, we'll first need to remove this rear belt cover, which means that both the balance shaft belt idler roller and the tensioner roller need to be completely removed from the engine block. We'll also need to remove the upper and lower balance shaft pulleys using a pin wrench to hold the shaft in place while the bolt is removed. If you need a pin wrench, Car Pokes offers a 3D printable tool with free downloadable plans available in the tools section. This later rear belt cover design has a large section removed from the back, so it can actually be tilted and removed from the engine without removing the crankshaft pulleys, which will save a little time. With the belt cover removed, we've got some additional evidence of the failure here, so you can see two blue lines of dried coolant seeping from the shaft seal externally. Unbelievable. But this is why I love blue coolant, because it leaves a nice clear line to chase down any leaks. I went ahead and drained the cooling system by removing the radiator drain plug. I've also got the two coolant hoses disconnected from the water pump, and the 11 fasteners have been removed, securing the water pump to the engine block. There's a leverage point here at the top where a pry bar can be used to break the pump free, and then it will slide right off the engine. Here's a look at the reverse side of the water pump, and we've got a little bit of oxidation forming on the impeller. Kind of surprising for the age, but nothing too crazy. And I was curious to see how this gasket had held up over 6 years. A lot of times they get really heavily baked onto the engine block and are difficult to remove. This one actually came off in one piece, just a couple cracks. It's a little bit brittle, but otherwise fine. Next, we'll need to prep the new water pump for installation, which means moving over the thermostat from the old water pump. There's a circlip here that needs to be removed with some circlip pliers and a seal that goes around the thermostat. Get that installed on the new pump and just make sure that the circlip is fully seated. We've also got a new block-off plate to install with a new O-ring onto the new pump, and a new gasket, which will go on clean and dry to the mating surface on the engine block once it's all cleaned up. Followed by the water pump. And then all the fasteners can be installed and torqued to a value of 8 Newton meters or 6 foot-pounds. Just want to make sure not to over-torque these fasteners at risk of snapping one of the studs. With the water pump torqued down and the coolant hoses reconnected, we can use a pressure tester to check the integrity of the repair. I've added about 9 psi to the system here, and it's holding strong for about 5 minutes, so we are leak-free and ready to refill. Next, we'll start rebuilding the front of the engine here by installing the rear belt cover, followed by the balance shaft pulleys, the idler roller, and the tensioner. The pulleys slide back onto the end of each shaft, where the pin wrench is again applied to torque the bolts to 33 foot-pounds. On goes a new timing belt. The one that came off was about 4 years old, so this is good timing for replacement. Now we can install the water pump guide plate and the spring tensioner. The tensioner is released to apply an initial tension to the belt, and then it gets locked back down. After removing the flywheel lock and rotating the crankshaft 2 full rotations in a clockwise direction, we can confirm it's in time by checking the marks on the flywheel as well as the marks on the cam gear. Next, the cam gear gets rotated counterclockwise by 10 degrees or about 1.5 teeth, so the slack is on the upper belt span, and we can take a measurement with a deflection gauge, making any needed adjustments to the tensioner. If you don't have a deflection gauge, Carpokes has a 3D printable tool that uses a basic torque wrench to set the belt tension, which is worth checking out. Finally, the idler roller is installed and torqued to 33 foot-pounds. Next, we'll set the engine back to top dead center using the alignment marks on the flywheel, and we can install a new balance shaft belt by routing it around the pulleys. After pulling the slack to the upper belt span, the timing marks can be aligned for the upper balance shaft and the lower balance shaft. With everything lined up, the tensioner is turned clockwise to set an initial tension on the belt. And again, the deflection gauge is applied to set the proper tension. The tensioner is torqued to 33 foot-pounds while holding the eccentric with a thin spanner. Finally, the idler roller is set using a feeler gauge to apply a 0.5mm gap between the roller and the lower balance shaft pulley, as well as a 0 to 1mm upward deflection on the belt, and then it's torqued to 33 foot-pounds. The cam gear cover and the front belt covers are installed in the reverse of removal, along with the ignition rotor, the distributor cap, and the accessory belt, which is tensioned to an upper deflection of about 2mm with moderate thumb pressure. After reinstalling the cooling fan assembly, the starter, the air filter housing, and reconnecting the battery, the coolant system can be topped up. Then we'll run a few pressure cycles to bleed the system of air, and with that, we can see how the engine sounds with the new water pump installed.